Hello everyone. Today is Thursday, March 19th, 2026 at 1:32 a.m. in the morning. So I could not get to live stream last night. Well, a couple hours ago. I was feeling that bad. So I apologize for any noise. Right now it's like boats passing by. I'm still not feeling well. So I'm gonna try my best to do this video and talk about certain things. There's a video topic that I would like to talk to y'all about. So yeah, last night I got partial help, enough for partial help for the hotel, but with this thing behind me that they got, this, I guess, big huge tent or whatever. I don't know if it's later this week or over the weekend. They got some event going on. I don't know what they have going on. So I don't know if they're gonna jack up the hotel prices over the weekend, but like, my body is craving for a nice hot shower, and my legs are swollen really bad, and like, not even just my bottom legs, but even my thighs and everything are very swollen. And they got some things that I want to and need to talk about, but I can't talk about it right now. I have to put it on hold, and my brain is not straight right now. My mind is not clear. Excuse me. So I think I did say in a video yesterday afternoon that when I took my supplements, I started to feel like almost instant relief from the pain and inflammation in my mouth and my teeth and everything. And the pain was coming and going throughout the day. And I had to just keep going to pee. Like, I don't even know if I went to pee like over 20 times yesterday. I don't know how many times I had to go pee yesterday with the forced urination. And my legs are still swelling. I'm afraid that they're gonna burst or pop. And like, it's hard for me to step up and down on with stairs and trying to get on and off the buses and streetcars. It feels like my legs are going to like pop open, or stepping into a bathtub or whatever. So like, it felt like my mouth, the inside of my mouth, the top of my mouth was swollen, and like swollen and painful, and all my teeth hurt. And then like, when I took my bentonite clay supplement and the amazing grass supplement yesterday, I tried to take the coconut oil around this time of morning yesterday, and usually the coconut oil would help, but the coconut oil was not helping. I tried to glide the coconut oil all over my mouth and then swallow it, and I still felt pain. And I had a hard time trying to eat my breakfast yesterday. But then when I took the supplement, I felt like almost immediate relief from the pain and swelling, and I was able to expel more mucus, and I had to keep blowing my nose all day, like peeing and blowing my nose all day long. And like when I kept blowing my nose, like what was coming out of my nose looked infected, you know. So I'm low on my supplements, not the coconut oil, but I'm low on the 2 supplements that I had mentioned. And I'm gonna have to, you know, next week try to get me some more, you know. But like I think I might have between 2 and 3 more servings of the amazing grass. And then with the clay, I don't know if I might have a week or whatever. So I mean I can't brush my teeth anywhere. And that what's that? The Himalayan pink salt that I got from Aldi when I was in Alabama in December. I'm having a hard time with that. I have bought like 2 bottles, and they come like with a grinder, and I've been having a hard time with trying to grind it out, or trying to, you know, I'm gonna have to get me some more, another kind of Himalayan pink salt that'll be easier, you know. Excuse me. But yeah. So yeah, I started to feel instant relief yesterday from the inflammation and pain. And like when I had this problem 3 months ago, December 14th of 2025, I was told that I had a sinus infection. I went to the emergency room and I got antibiotics and stuff. I don't want to take antibiotics, you know. But like yesterday, my whole body felt hot, and I felt cold at the same time. And I don't know if I had a fever or not, you know. But the pain is slowly but surely trying to come back. Last night I had some I tried to get the cheaper dinner, you know, some red beans and rice and sausage for $10.99. At the other place I had been going, they raised the prices, you know, but this place that I went to, the red beans and rice was $10.99, and you know, I was craving donuts because of feeling depressed about my situation and the harassment and attacks and stuff. So I ordered 3 donuts, but I was only able to eat 1, and I saved the other 2. I thought I could eat all 3 of them, but yeah. So I mean, I was craving like these buttermilk donuts, you know, not the buttermilk drops, but they were like buttermilk donuts. But they had both of them, you know. But and I was like, well, I figured that I knew I was gonna pay for this later, you know, like I shouldn't have had, for health reasons, you know. And my immune system is weak with me being sick and days of sleep deprived, and you know, I shouldn't have had that donut. But since I got that one and the other 2, I might as well eat the other 2. But like the supplement's supposed to detox, you know, detox the poison, whatever bad foods or whatever, you know. But I need to discipline myself and restrain myself to not, you know, eat foods that's bad for me. You know, I need to try to recover. But like as I said, I've been depressed, suffering depression because of the harassment and the stalking and abuse. You know, the nonstop torment. So there's some other things I would like to talk about that I have to put on hold. But I wanted to say that this perp that been harassing me with the fake name Crip Hood, I don't know if that's rapper J or another perp, that was harassing me and try to tell me no hotel for 90 days. That basically I'm not allowed to have a hotel for 90 days. They're wicked Satan worshipers that's trying to control me and manipulate me. So for them to treat me like that, and I'm older than you, and then like they go around threatening people, and they follow through with their threats. And I'll say like over 90% of the time they follow through with their threats, but sometimes they don't. Like every once in a while they don't. But the majority, it's really scary that they threaten you and then follow through with their threats and then succeed at destroying and hurting you. So, if they're preventing me from getting a hotel, or prevent me from getting, a roof over my head, a job or whatever. And then they want to say Candy stinks. And if you never physically been around me, you don't know what I smell like. But I normally don't walk around smelling like urine. But they've been forced urinating me and keeping me forced homeless and forced on the streets. And blocking me from getting to get clean. Both online and in-person stalkers, they're blocking me, certain hotels. If I go to the hotel and they be lying about not having quarters for laundry, and sometimes I'll be too exhausted to have to hand wash my clothes. They lie and say they don't have quarters when they do, and they just don't want to give them to me. And but they're giving the other hotel guests, and my bank is way in out of state. I'm not gonna say where, but it's out of state. And they don't have a location or a branch here, and I can't go into a local bank and try to get quarters for laundry. And they won't even let me purchase quarters for laundry. So Walmart and Target and stuff and grocery stores, they used to give quarters for laundry. But now they don't do that anymore. If I try to go to a check cashing place, in Los Angeles, they made you purchase quarters, But I can't find anywhere where I could exchange or purchase quarters for laundry, But yeah. So it's like, if the perps are blocking me from having a hotel or whatever, and then want to lie and say that I enjoy smelling bad, and they smear campaign and falsely accuse me of having nasty habits, but they're blocking me from getting clean. I want to be clean. I don't want to be forced to be dirty, and it's traumatizing with me having severe OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, But I know it's almost 15 minutes. I thought I was gonna be too sick or not feel well enough to talk about this topic that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, like last night my body felt so weak I thought I was gonna collapse. And I didn't think I would be able to successfully make it to walking over here. And I kept like having micro sleeps, and it was dangerous, for me to doze off. Like me standing up and me walking and then stop somewhere and then doze off for a couple of seconds, every couple of minutes, and trying to fight to stay awake. It felt like I was gonna black out and lose consciousness, from lack of sleep or not enough sleep. And so I wanted to talk about this topic. I guess I'm feeling up to it, to tell y'all the true narrative of my targeting suffering. Hear my side. Some internet strangers, it's unbelievable that people believe the narrative of people who are stalking and harassing and committing crimes, and they're satanic, sex trafficking, illegal cult murderers. So, can I tell my side? This is my side of the story. So, y'all know that I was abused in foster care and put in a cult growing up. And certain people say that me and my twin sister, the fact that we're twins, that we were sold to the MK Ultra program and victimized by MK Ultra experimentation, and satanic ritual abuse. That's what people say, from when they hear my story on how I grew up, and things that happened when me and my siblings were like little kids and stuff, So, but basically, I basically wanted to talk about the employment or work aspect of, my situation, since the stalkers, they lie and falsely assume, they have a false narrative to lie and say that, they tell a different narrative and a different story each time, and they switch up their story. They don't know the truth. And my twin sister is just helping to feed their lies, and like stuff that she knows damn well ain't true. So even though I grew up disabled and in special ed and everything, I used to like to try to be independent and do things for myself. Now, I started when I was 14 years old when I felt like I wanted a job and I wanted to work, and I also wanted to go into the military. I wanted to go in the Air Force. I wanted to be an OBGYN in the Air Force, more like obstetrician in the Air Force, and not so much a gynecologist. I wanted to be both, but more obstetrician than gynecologist, But so growing up, all the things, so many things I wanted to pursue in life, the foster mom herself and other people out in society will always doubt me. Now, before I became targeted, before my targeting got worse, like certain people say that I was born targeted, or that I was always targeted, or that I've been selected since before birth. Certain people say, but the targeting for revenge didn't start until I was in 9th grade, because before the incident happened in 9th grade, I was actually started in 6th grade. The foster mom, she was abusive and mean, and she used to physically abuse and beat on us, and and we almost got taken away from her, because after the foster dad Al passed away, in which I think that man's death was a blood sacrifice. After he passed away, the foster mom said that the state told her to stop whipping us, but then she found other ways to beat us. She stopped whipping us with belts, but she found other ways to beat us, But even when we were little kids, she used to physically abuse and beat on us. And the foster brother, Joe, used to physically abuse and beat on us, and he was a woman beater. And certain other foster family members. And the biological brother, Mark, used to physically abuse and beat on us when we were in kindergarten. And then, I felt bad that I started, fighting or hitting other kids and when I was a kid. And then I grew up and got a certain age, and I said I wanted to break that cycle, and I didn't want to be an abuser, So, and I've been feeling like terrible that, if I used to hit other kids when I was a kid, and I just feel really bad. Feel like I can't forgive myself, for acting out what I was taught or what was happening to me, And so, but the foster mom, she kept us punished all the time. She ran her own household like she was her own cult leader. Even though she had us in a religious cult, and she used us as cleanup slaves, and gave us small amount of allowance. And people said that what she did to us was considered labor trafficking and exploitation. And we got small amount of allowance, and she was very controlling and abusive. But I wanted to get my own independence and my own money or whatever. I guess 14, I must have been too, I was told I was too young. But when you're in Pensacola, Florida, and you're 14 years old, they let you have a part-time job. You get to have a job and work at 14 in Pensacola, Florida, but you have to be 2 years older here in New Orleans. I don't know the state of Louisiana. So I wanted a job, and I wanted to work, and I wanted to excel in school. One teacher had recommended that I get an honors, and then the other teachers doubted me, and I fought hard to pursue, trying as best as I could, to try to get higher GPA and graduate with honors. I wanted to take advanced placement or AP courses. The fake foster mom and the social worker, they would not let me take physics and calculus. And see, they doing noise harassment. I can hear the sirens, but yeah, they blocked me or wouldn't let me take advanced placement courses, and each time, the foster mom would say, "Oh, shut up about that bullshit about you wanting to be in honors." She would always put me down, and she would narcissistically lecture me, telling me that I'm not college material. But then she forced me to go to university I didn't want to go to. I didn't want to go to Nicholls State University. But I'm glad I ended up having things my way and went to UNO. But the real college I really wanted to go to was LSU in Baton Rouge. And that's why I really wanted to go. Sorry, that's the loud boats. Excuse me. The boats are never really loud until I'm doing a video, and then that's when they want to be loud. I hope y'all can hear me. So, but, the foster mom had smear campaigned me and tried to make me look really crazy for the certain records for college and certain psychiatric or psychological health evaluations. She would smear campaign me as a certain kind of crazy, and would try to make up lies and say stuff that's really humiliating and embarrassing and not true. And when I would question and confront her, she would say, "Start your shit. You're here, start your shit." She would smear campaign and lie on her own and tell people that I'm schizophrenic. But couldn't find out that was not my official diagnosis from the psychiatrist. I'm not sure if they ever had me wrongfully diagnosed as schizophrenic, but the foster mom brainwashed us to believe that the biological mom, Frances, was so schizophrenic. Excuse me. They try to make it like as if the biological brother, Sean, was schizophrenic. And my twin sister, the foster mom brainwashed us to have my twin sister running around saying that the whole entire family is schizophrenic. Well, what make your schizophrenia or crazy better than mine? But kind of find out, like, wait a minute, I'm not schizophrenic after all, I'm not crazy after all. But that's a smear campaign to stop you from speaking the truth. If you're targeted, excuse me, and trying to bring exposure to this wicked program. So, like I've said before about how many times I try to get jobs since my teenage years, and I would fill out so many applications, and they just kept withholding and blocking me. But when my twin sister when she got that Pizza Hut job, they hired her on the spot. And she didn't, to my knowledge, she worked there over a year or so, and I never heard any complaints about workplace mobbing or her being bullied at work. But, so many doors were closed in my face, like at the end of the junior year in high school. And, when my senior year in high school, 17 years old, I got hired. It was September 11th, 2000, a year before 9/11 happened. And I got hired to work at Popeyes. And I've been fighting all summer long, and they said that they were remodeling the building. I worked at the Popeyes on Lafayette Street in Gretna. And so, like, it took all summer long for me to fight tooth and nail. And I kept trying, and I tried to get a job at the bowling alley that used to be where the Walmart in Gretna, it used to be a bowling alley. And the manager or whatever at the bowling alley threatened to throw me in jail for harassment or something. Well, I wasn't even trying to harass. He kept playing games and stalling and manipulating and, making false promises or giving false interview dates, and kept telling me, come back. And then he got mad and, falsely accused me of harassment. And I was a kid, and I was a kid, and as I said, he kept playing games and stalling and manipulating and switching the interview dates, and excuse me. It wasn't my intention to try to harass, but other kids at school used to tell me, if you really want the job, keep pressuring them, or don't give up. So I followed their advice, So the psychiatrist told me that due to the nature of my disability, that I would not be able to handle working at fast food. And she turned out to be right about that. And the reason why I can't work at fast food, because, with my disability, I can't work at fast pace. And also, I can't work around noise. So But when I was, like the foster mom kept blocking me from working. And I don't know what she smear campaigned me in a way that all over town or whatever, in a way that I like nobody wanted to hire me to have a job, you know. And then Popeyes was playing games and stalling on me, and you know, eventually they gave me the job. And then I didn't know about workplace bullying or workplace mobbing and discrimination. You know, I was an underage child, 17 years old, dealing with workplace mobbing, workplace bullying, and discrimination. You know, and I got wrongfully fired for reporting the manager for sexual harassment. And they admitted to me that they felt threatened because of, sexual harassment means lawsuit or whatever. And they triggered for me to have a Tourette's outburst. You know, I was, everybody ganging up on me at work and then dealing with managers sexually harassing me, you know. And they would exploit me, and that would be a whole nother video for me to talk about all the dirty things that they did to me when I had that Popeyes job, you know. So come to find out, I wasn't the managers, I wasn't their only victims. Excuse me. Some of the other people I worked with said that they had issues with them too, and ended up kind of being blacklisted from employment, or made it hard for them to get a job anywhere else. You know, but you know, excuse me, I worked there for almost 4 months. And yeah, throughout my life, I didn't get to work as much. You know, so many doors closed in my face, so many people, employers refusing to hire me. Like, even after the Popeyes job, nobody wanted to hire me. I tried hard and tried. Nobody wanted to give me a job. I was going to Nicholls State University, that Subway location, Subway sandwiches. They were always hiring, but they kept rejecting my applications, you know. And the foster mom kept trying to prevent me from working. I tried to work temp service jobs. And, excuse me, like in 2003, I was forced to have to resign from Nicholls State University because of, they said excessive absences, you know, due to the side effects of psych medications, you know, and certain other issues that I had, and being mobbed and bullied in college. And like the foster mom kept trying to prevent me from having a job and working. Even I was 19, 20, 21, 22 years old. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, she kept trying to block me from working. And she blocked me from working, even though I'm disabled, but she blocked me from working because she was, you know, gave me the small Social Security check, small SSI check, while she took the big Social Security check for herself. And she wanted me to hand over all the money to her. And she would, even I would be 18, 19, 20 years old, she would still like be manipulative and controlling with my money, you know. And then after Nicholls State University, you know, when I transferred to University of New Orleans and I got my own place, I was living in New Orleans Towers in Algiers. Now they call it Renaissance place or something. The low-income disabled place. And I was able to finally have all my money to myself, and I was going to college and focusing on college or whatever. And I was bullied at college, and so many college professors and students try to set me up and hold me back and try to hinder me, you know, from succeeding or graduating or whatever. And like people used to, even at Nichols State University, like I started off majoring in biology pre-med with wanting to be a doctor, and so many people kept trying to doubt me, and they sabotaged. And they had a lady named Duenna, Duenna Poche, Poche, a white lady that was, I think, the nurse at Nichols State University. And she was the one who was so abusive and mean that for her to work in the medical field, that, she was an abusive, mean bully, and she was the one who manipulated for me to have to make the decision to stop trying to pursue biology pre-med. And I was going to college and having to take like remedial courses. Like I had to take remedial math, remedial reading. Even despite graduating despite graduating high school with honors, I almost didn't make it, But I barely made it through college. And certain people say Hurricane Katrina was a blessing in disguise, because if it weren't for Hurricane Katrina, I probably would have flunked out and could never graduate. College was hard. And so many people doubted me, saying that I didn't have the sense or the mentality to drive a car or be a doctor or have kids or get married. And they try to force mental health down my throat. And so like I was going to Nichols, and like the foster mom got mad at me that the college found out that I had been working, and she's like, "How Nichols know you worked?" I'm like, well, I didn't tell him. Maybe the IRS or the taxes must have told him. I don't know. But like even the period between Nichols and University of New Orleans, that transition, I was living with the foster mom and foster stepdad, and dealing with a lot of abuse, being abused by them. I was 19 or something like that, and finally got my own place after I was at UNO. The foster mom hated me, but she would not let me go, and I fought tooth and nail to get on my own and get my own place away from her. But she got so mad at me, she refused to ever come visit me, but she was always visiting my twin sister, and she only visited my place one time. While she was visiting my twin sister all the time, and my twin sister was compliant with the cult. I didn't know it was a cult back then. I didn't know what a cult meant back then, but I wasn't really compliant with the cult, and I thought I was atheist. And, so like, I guess when I broke away from the foster mom's grip of control, she wanted nothing to do with me, but she hated my guts and acted like I was so repulsive, but she wouldn't let me go. She wouldn't let me free. Like, if you're rich with a BMW, why the hell you, think it's a big deal to try to steal almost $400 a month from me. But you're rich, living a high life, nice cars, big house. I never got to, I'm 42 years old, never got to be a homeowner. Never really got to be a car owner. Didn't even have possession of many cars in my life. Basically, I had like only one real car, but the second car, I don't count that because I got taken advantage of really bad. And I didn't get to keep that car for long. But I don't count the small amount of rental cars that I've ever rented. But I'm talking about having a car. Basically, I only got to have like one real car, and I had that for like a year and a few months. And the car got repossessed because I had to flee the foster family's abuse. So like throughout the years, I tried so hard looking for jobs and couldn't get a job no matter what city and state. And like when I was going to Nichols State University, I think the first day or two that I had like the work study job, I was on psych medications and they fired me from the job for sleeping. But they didn't care to hear that it was psych medications. I think I worked there like 1 or 2 days. And then, and that was like in the year 2001 or 2, one of those years. And, like the transition between, when I was going to Nichols and UNO, I was still living with the foster mom. Every job I tried to get, she kept preventing me from working. Or I tried to work a few temp service jobs, and a workplace mob then bullied me and gang up on me and single me out, and I didn't get to stay long at the job. And like they used to have this thing called Employment Guide before Indeed.com and all those other places, Employment Guide. I used to try to look through every week for job opportunities, and it was mostly scam. But then when the legit jobs, they refused to hire me, So, or they would ignore me, or reject me. And so many people say they want you with experience, but how do you expect to get experience? And throughout the years, people have been telling me it's not what you know, but it's who you know. And I heard that's a Masonic statement right there. So if you got Masonic connections, you could get jobs real quick and real easy and maintain a job and nobody gonna bother you. Excuse me. So I was even bullied at every apartment complex or every place that I lived at. Being ganged up on and bullied by neighbors. Excuse me. And excuse me. If I get a job or something, they workplace mob or bully me, or seem like they try to force me. They try to find ways to bully me to the point where they try to force me to quit. And if I don't, if that tactic does not work, then what they'll do is make up a random bogus lie for an excuse to justify wrongfully firing you. Excuse me, make up a bogus lie, and then end up being hard for me to find another job opportunity again. And just like people say, nobody will hire you for job. That nobody will. They'll say with apartments or whatever. They say no one will rent to you. Having problems with being bullied by landlords and neighbors trying to control me, neighbors who act like they think that they got authority over me, or act like a narcissistic control freak, fake friend. And I didn't realize at the time that bossy neighbors were people that were trying to be my handler, or thought that they were my handler or something. I didn't know any of this, or a narcissistic control freak fake friend, whether they profess to be Christian or not. If they would have fake friends that be trying to control what brand of water I should buy. If they got Aquafina water and they got Dasani water and they're both the same price, if I choose Dasani, they was, say, oh, that don't make no sense. Why would you get Dasani? Why don't you get Aquafina? If I would have decided to have Aquafina, then, they would say, oh, that don't make no sense. Why you don't get, Dasani? But they both cost the same price. So why you want to call me stupid, and why does it matter? But people who profess to be a friend but try to act like they think they're an authority figure over me, But like transitioning between college, like I ended up being, homeless temporarily, like maybe for a couple of nights or something. But I had my own place in Denton, Texas after Hurricane Katrina. For 4 years, I could not get a job to save my life. And I had a bachelor's degree. I tried to take up more college courses, and nothing I could do to get a job. And they would stand me up and not let me work. And also, when I was in New York, they kept preventing me from employment because they wanted me to be forced against my will to focus on fake mental health programs, where they think that mental health therapy is me having a college degree and being forced to do first grade math programs on an older computer. And it's like, well, I mean, how is this therapy? How is this healing? How is this helping? To sit on a computer and do first grade math problems all day. And they call that, forced mental health program in New York. And they blocked me from working. And they, and even when I was in Milwaukee after Hurricane Katrina, I did like a work study job where I was workplace mobbed and dealing with bossy co-workers that's taking advantage and exploit and make a fool out of me and make me do all the work while they sit back and just order me around and tell me what to do and then take credit for what I did. And I did, I don't remember how long that lasted, but it lasted a couple of months. But I never got to, I don't think I ever got to have a job in my entire life. I got to last long on a job for like anything longer than 4 months. And then I ended up having like 11 or 12 year gap in employment from 2006 through 2017 or 2018. And certain jobs refused to hire me because of no work history for over 10 years. And I did work study for over the summer at University of New Orleans right before graduating. August 2000. I guess I graduated August 10th, 2006 from University of New Orleans. I thought it was August 6th, but I graduated August 10th. And I was supposed to have originally graduated spring 2005, but because of the gang stalking and everything setting me back and everything, and I almost didn't make it, and I think I graduated 2.3 GPA overall and 2.7 in my major Spanish, but I started out in 4.0 GPA in my major for like a couple of years. And everybody was impressed about, me having such a high GPA, and then dealing with the gang stalking and family abuse. The family, the biological family and the foster family, they wanted to see me fail. So, in Los Angeles, couldn't get a job. I was living there 4.5 years, could not get a job. and Greenville, South Carolina, couldn't get a job. And they bully me at the homeless shelters, and I get wrongfully kicked out and banned. And when you go to the homeless shelter, they're not free. They take all your money, and they're bed bug infested. And a lot of people compare them to cults and concentration camps. And the person running the shelter have their hand out for money, acting like you owe them drug money. Or like they're your pimp or something, But, I because of the gang stalking attacks, after I came back to New Orleans in 2017 and being tortured with direct energy weapons and feel like, damn, they're trying to kill me. I didn't know what was going on. So I got a couple of temp service jobs here and there in 2018, and they covertly and secretly blacklisted me for something that someone else did to me, and it was a gang stalking setup. And I ended up homeless in 2018 and trying to find jobs. Couldn't find really many, and if I did, it was like either temporary or seasonal. I didn't start to get like permanent jobs until like going to when I was in Pensacola, Florida, and they workplace mobbed me off those jobs. I didn't get to last long. And when that thing happened in 2020, that starts with a C and ends with a D, and it has 19, and I can't mention it. That thing that happened when Alex Dupree ran me out of Pensacola, and I had a hard time trying to get jobs in Pensacola. He ran me out of Pensacola, Florida, and I thought it was just gonna be a temporary thing with me, having to ask for help for hotel, and then I would stay on the streets and have the sleeping bag and had a sleep spot and everything. And I would, work at the YMCA and take a sleep. I would work and shower there and then sleep at the homeless sleep spot and really not asking for anything and trying my best to be independent. And in 2019, a lot of TIs were homeless and suffering and fighting off perps and everything. Then after 2020, it seemed like majority of the people in the TI community covertly and secretly sold out and switched to the other side and became perps. And hardly anybody mentioning about being targeted much anymore. And they worry about their image, talking about that they don't want to look crazy. So it's hard to find anyone in the TI community that has not sold out, or that's not fake playing both sides. And after Alex Dupree ran me out of Pensacola, I thought that me needing help for hotel, I thought that was just a temporary phase. Like, I thought after I got back to Pensacola, I thought I could be independent again. But the stalkers started getting me wrongfully banned from so many places. Like, they got me wrongfully banned from so many hotels and motels in Pensacola, Florida, so many restaurants. They got me wrongfully banned, kicked out and banned, tried to get me wrongfully kicked out and banned from the libraries. And, now that I'm back here in New Orleans, they've been trying the same thing, But when I was in Cincinnati, Ohio, the guy at Days Inn in Sharonville, Ohio, wrongfully tried to wrongfully ban me, and because I called him out on trying to screw over me and cheat me, and so I put the camera on him and try to expose him directly, but kind of find out, I ended up not being banned from the hotel because they saw what crooked thing he did. So other than that, I really wasn't banned from anywhere else that I know of in Cincinnati. But they try to lie on me at restaurants and try to have me wrongfully banned from restaurants and stuff in Mobile, Alabama. They used to gang stalk really bad. And I can't rent a room out of anybody's house. Well, when I would go on Craigslist and apply for rooms for rent, it's like they would ask to see my picture, and I showed them my picture, and then they would ghost me. Or they would try to act like they're a fake wannabe landlord and try to act like as if they want to make you pay a deposit or they want to do background checks. And that I can't afford that. I don't have the money, And then I couldn't live with roommates because the roommates would be dangerous and trying to kill you and stuff. And they would gang stalk and they were trying to kill you. I got wrongfully banned from so many shelters and got wrongfully banned from I got wrongfully banned from shelters in Los Angeles and wrongfully banned from shelters and day centers here in New Orleans, soup kitchens. So like in 2019, I think after I got to Pensacola, like a couple of months after I got to Pensacola, I remember doing a video. Well, that channel is gone now, but I remember doing a video where I said that I remember doing a video where I said that that wow, the way things are, me getting wrongfully kicked out of and banned or bullied from soup kitchens, I'm gonna have to resort to having to start eating out at restaurants. And shucks, before that thing happened in 2020, I could get a filling meal for $5. A whole Chinese food plate for a filling dinner for like $4.99. They're raising the prices on everything. You can't even find something that's $5 no more unless it's Illuminati fake fast food. That's gonna make you hungry and destroy you more, and so if I can have a dinner for like Mexican dinner for like $7.99, or sometimes I'll be like, I'm not trying to ask for too much, if I just go to the Mexican restaurant and get beans and rice, $2 for beans, $2 for rice, it'll be $4, and then you get free chips and salsa and free water. It would be hard for me to try to raise funds to ask for help, to get a few dollars, for, dinner. And, they wrongfully, in-person and online stalkers got me wrongfully permanently banned from Cactus Cantina in downtown Pensacola, Florida, and so many other places, that were cheaper and more affordable. The cafes and restaurants and stuff, like I'm wrongfully permanently banned forever from Everman Co-op or grocery place. I'm wrongfully permanently banned from Bodacious and forever, and so many other places. Now I don't even remember, So it's like, well, like here in New Orleans, I think I am wrongfully banned from certain cafes and restaurants and hotels, and some of them I don't even have an answer or any closure, or they won't give me an answer or closure. So like in-town suites, I had an altercation with the in-person gang stalker that was the front desk agent, but nobody wants to give me a flat-out direct answer on whether or not I'm allowed to go there or if I'm banned or not. But I'm under the assumption that I'm banned. And the online stalker said that they were trying to get me, I'm saying wrongfully, permanently banned from Extended Stay America. So, you know, they got me wrongfully banned from, I was told, like that lady at the La Quinta in Metairie, she said I'm banned from all Wyndham hotels. But then I got on the phone with a representative. He said that I'm not banned from all Wyndham hotels. Excuse me, and I called up certain Wyndham hotels, and some of them say I'm on a do not rent list, and some of them said that I'm not on a do not rent list. But I have not even gone to any, you know, I haven't tried to check into any Wyndham hotels. But the hotels used to be like $127 over the weekend and like $98 during the week. And after they got me wrongfully kicked out and banned, now the year 2025 and 2026, La Quinta hotels and Days Inn and whatever under Wyndham hotels be $55 a night. But some of those hotels are disgusting and filthy. And but sometimes you can get to swim and have breakfast and laundry. You can get to do it all for $55, cheaper than some of the motels around here. Now, back in 2018 and 19, the place where the fake Econology where I'm wrongfully banned from in Gretna, that's a new hotel, and you know, I think it was 2024 that they were brand new. So the hotel's like 2 years old now. But before then, they had a place called Century Inn, and they used to be 2018 and 19. They used to be $55 a night, and with $5 key deposit, and then or $250 a week with $5 key deposit. But, you know, the stalkers, they got me wrongfully banned from, like, almost all the hotels and motels on the West Bank Expressway, whether it be Harvey, Marrero, Gretna, Westwego, you know. And a lot of people say don't go out in the east, especially on Chef Mentor Highway. So, I've been avoiding the out in the east altogether. You know, and I had a traumatic experience with a female perp that put her hands on me. And so it's like, to ride any of those buses that go out in the east, they got some dangerous people. You know, so I steer clear of hotels and motels out in the east. And the stalkers expect for me to go to the hotels on the motels on Chef Mentor Highway, where all the drugs and prostitution and murder and sin and wickedness and evil. And that's where they want me to go. That's bedbug infested. You know. So, like, I was told that I'm on a do not rent list for the Ramada Hotel, on Chef Mentor, because of what happened, you know, because of what happened at La Quinta with that gang stalking setup. And it's unfair. You know, the stalkers took months old video because they try to block me from having a hotel, and you know, they take old videos and show them because they wanted me to suffer out on the streets for court and fake damnesia. He tried to talk about that he wanted for me to be disheveled and go to court and be disheveled and dirty so I could be discredited by the judge so that they can lock me up in a mental institution and throw away the key. And, he would talk about wanting to, talk about me serving a jail sentence, from when they illegally swatted me multiple times. And he tried to say, you will serve your sentence for 33, that fake Masonic 33 days. And then after you serve your sentence, we're going to traffic you to a brothel in Shreveport. He was bold with saying that. And these people that want to stay faceless and nameless and don't want their identities shown, and they're trying to, internet strangers trying to control my life and claim that they own me. And that they say, we own, don't forget we own you. But then they want to say, Candy act like she thinks she owns that bench. She thinks she's entitled to that bench. Oh, you don't own the public. But you claim you own me. I'm not trying to act like I own something. But like they plant stalkers to come and do harassment tactics around me. And if I've been there for hours and they come and, do their, their stuff around me, then, for me to say, get the hell away from me with that. And then, the stalkers, try to be assholes. So then I start to put them on film. And then you don't know what happened off camera before I started filming and recording. They think that because I pick up the camera and started filming and recording that I'm the one that's bothering and harassing people. I mean, they could send a perp to come and, with me being out here right now, they could send a perp to come and sit on my lap. Catch me off guard and come sit on my lap. And then I film and record, and then the perp sitting on my lap, looking at me like I'm the weird one, or like something's wrong with me. And I'm like, get off my lap. And then we're arguing, and then they're lying and saying I'm stalking and harassing and bothering people. It's like people see evidence of the truth and still want to believe the lie, the false narrative. Like, how you believe a bunch of faceless, nameless internet stalkers over me being, I'm like, my mouth is the horse's mouth. But, for someone who just started stalking and harassing you 6 months ago, how y'all believe them telling the narrative of my entire life? And my twin sister is helping the cult, and because we're twins, they think she's a credible source. But even other people, she had situations with other people where they say she do nothing but freaking lie so much. And then she falsely accuses other people of being such a liar. And my twin sister, she picked up where the foster mom left off at with the abuse. So like in 2023, when I came back to New Orleans, I could not get a job to save my life. Excuse me. And everybody, like at the Riverwalk or whatever, was like putting pressure on me and keeping tabs to make sure I'm looking for jobs and working. And I'm like, well, at that time, it was hard for me to even get my driver's license switched over and get a mailbox or whatever. Now I have that. And, the stalkers, they got me wrongfully banned, lied on me and got me wrongfully banned from the Riverwalk. They tried so many times to get me wrongfully banned from here by the aquarium, by the other spots further down. I'm wrongfully banned from this Hilton Hotel, Hilton Riverside, and wrongfully banned from the Riverwalk. Like, they banned me from Hilton Hotel while I was trying to look for a job. And they did the same thing to me at Everman in Pensacola, Florida, when I went to try to apply for a job, and they decided that I was banned for life. just because they had the police escort me. I mean, the guy was abusing, he was a manager, not the owner, and he abused his fake power. And he lied on me. And they said I was banned for trespass for 1 year. And then after like 18 months, I came back. I tried to look for a job. They told me I was banned forever from all the locations. And I used to go there all the time and get food before I found out how to, find out my way around the city of Pensacola, But they had a police officer that told me to go sleep by the abandoned bank. And no police ever bothered me. Gang stalkers did, but the cops left me alone. I had the sleeping bag and had the sleep spot, and, because the first night in Pensacola, Florida, first 2 nights, they had me go to that Heavenly Blessings place, which was a homeless communal cult, where they try to take all your money and force you to live like a pig pen, and I think that's a human trafficking operation. And so they had other homeless shelters. I got wrongfully kicked out and banned. Even there, in Mobile, Alabama, if they wrongfully kicked me out the shelter and gang up on me and bully me within 2 hours. I got wrongfully banned from shelters in Los Angeles, California, here in New Orleans, and also Pensacola, Florida, Mobile, Alabama, I think New York City, and like on this past trip, if I try to get into shelters and they reject me or they tell me they don't have any beds available, shelters are full, or I get wrongfully kicked out in 12-degree weather, being abused, and still forced to have to suffer outside, They're abusive and exploitative at these shelters. These shelters are cults, exploitative, money-hungry prison scam cults, Oh, man. So, I'm starting to get a headache again. I'm wondering if there's anything else I needed to talk about. But yeah, it was 2020 when I started to have to constantly ask for help for hotel, and hurricane seasons were so bad that year. But I had plenty of nights on the streets in Pensacola, Florida, with that sleeping bag. Here in New Orleans, I cannot have a tent or a sleeping bag. Excuse me. I can't get a sleeping bag and sleep on this ground or right here. If they let me, if they were to allow me to do that, I probably could, sanitize the ground and then put the sleeping bag down and, try to go to sleep. Or, if this shelter overhead right here, if I could have a sleeping bag and sleep right there, but they won't let me. They tell me I cannot sleep around this area. I can't sleep. But I see other homeless people sleeping. The security guards, they handpick when they want to let them sleep and leave them alone, or when they want to harass them, say, oh, you can't sleep here, you can't be over here. They're wishy-washy with it, Excuse me. So they have had moments when I would try to work on my writings, and for me to work on my writings, I had to deal with being electronically harassed or electronically attacked, trying to work on an ebook or a fiction short story because they don't want me to get the truth out. And even if it's a fictionalized illustration of the truth, they feel threatened by even my fiction writings. You know, they don't want me to be a self-published author. They think they got the authority to say that I'm not a writer, that I'm not an author. They have tried to get all my ebooks wrongfully banned. Well, I'm gonna get off here because the train.